Muses of Mythology is a spoiler-heavy podcast.
That's an understatement.
We're going to discuss not just the events of this book, but the Rodents as a whole, and really anything that we feel is relevant. You can find full spoiler warnings in the show notes. Simic is also proposing that Skull and... Oh god, what is the other dog's name? Welcome to Muses of Mythology, a podcast where we explore how ancient myths have become part of modern pop culture through the lens of Rodents, Magnus Chase, and the gods of Asgard. This is Story 97, Fenrir. I'm your co-host and podcasting muse, Darien Smartt. Joining me is my co-host and brother, DJ.
How's everybody doing today? I'm DJ the Muse, and don't forget, wolves are a problem.
Interesting. And are they a problem, DJ?
They're a problem.
Yeah?
They've always been a problem.
Always been a problem?
Always been a problem.
Any specific times that come to mind for you?
The Middle Ages.
So let's put a pin in that. We're going to circle back. Let's muse around the garden for a moment. DJ, guess what?
Musemus is back?
I mean, yes, music is back.
Obviously, it's back.
It's
December.
So.
Of course, it's back,
we
guys.
Well,
Musemus is here.
We're within 12 days from December 25th. So, yes, Muses is back. But that's not what we're going to talk about right now.
It's kind of what we're going to talk about. It's related.
Well, what... You want to lead this garden?
Claire Gerland, thank you so much.
Thank you so much to our newest camp counselor patron.
You have chosen a wonderful time.
The best time of the year, truly.
To become a patron because, Musemus is here. Mm-hmm. We love doing it, and we're so glad that you get to hear it.
Yeah, we're so excited to share it with you and all of our patrons. Thank you again. Waking up and seeing that notification filled me with Christmas electricity. A reference you now get.
Yeah, you now get to enjoy. Or you already got it because you might be hip. You know what I'm saying?
You go or you just be really cool and you like Team Star Kid stuff.
Exactly.
So, if any of our other listeners want to check out the Muses of Christmases past and present, you can also join Claire and our other patrons at
patreon.com/Muses of Mythology.
That one.
You can better believe it. It is there once again. And today's episode is also super special.
It is. It is today. If you are listening to the day this episode airs, it is the
1984
40th anniversary of the Christmas Carol adaptation we are discussing.
Yes.
So fun timing, excellent things all around. Thank you, Claire, again, so much. It means the world to us.
Yeah, it's outstanding. And I hope to see more of you there, honestly. Just because, again, Musemus is such a wonderful thing that we do, and we love doing it, and we love doing this podcast in general. Thank you guys so much for supporting us.
Yep, the support has really helped us continue this podcast in times that we're trying in our personal lives and allowed us to continue to dedicate the time and energy and resources into it. So, no, when we say thank you, that is not just, lip service. It is for real from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you, thank you.
Now back to the show.
All right, DJ, you were saying wolves have been a problem for like ever.
Wolves are a problem. There's a reason why Big Bad Wolf was such a thing, such a prominent thing throughout like all of European culture.
For sure. DJ, can you stop trying to do the end of the episode first?
End of the episode? What are you talking about? I'm just saying wolves are a problem.
You're really going out of order of my notes for this episode.
I don't know what you're on about. This is ridiculous. I feel attacked. I feel assaulted right now.
By a wolf with large fangs and sharp claws?
Yeah, I'm looking at her right now.
Please. We all know I am a cat person.
A wolf.
A
with
wolf!
Sharp fangs and claws, and she's just mauling me right now. I am being attacked simply because I say wolves are a problem.
Well, Lieutenant Angua is one of my favorite Discworld characters, so I'm just living up to her reputation. No, okay. I mean, yes. All true. Let's talk about one big bad problem in particular. DJ, what do you remember about Fenrir in the Magnus Chase books?
He was whispering Magnus sweet nothings.
I hate the way you said that. No! Canceled. Blocked. Banned.
Well, he sent wolves after Magnus and ended up killing Magnus's mom. Or maybe specifically after Magnus's mom, was it?
You know what? I was trying to remember.
I think
if
he
it was
sent wolves.
Loki or if it was Fenrir. I keep saying Fenrir. Riordan calls him Fenris. Both are correct.
Yeah,
I want that
yeah.
established. Fenrir and Fenris Wolf are all correct.
I know him as Fenrir from SMITE,
Mm-hmm.
but some other people probably introduced him as Fenris from other things, maybe this specifically.
Yeah. In the Eddas, we'll talk about it's often Fenrir, but I see it as Fenris Wolf. So, like any way. I could not find a specific, like any sort of like scholarly
I mean, like this is
discourse
the only.
on
Maybe
why.
it's because is it ever Fenris on its own?
Riordan uses it as Fenris on its
Yeah.
own, but I don't think so.
If it's not Fenris on its own in like the Eddas, then it's probably Fenris Wolf. Or,
Fenris Wolf, one word.
Yeah, Fenris Wolf or Fenrir for short.
Yes, probably that. I said when I was telling our brother Jared that we were going to record an episode about Fenris Wolf, he was like, no, Fenrir. And then we looked it up, and the result, if you look up Fenris, is Fenrir. So yeah, I was just a thing. That's why I mentioned it, because I had a conversation about it earlier. So yeah, all right. Yeah, he does send some wolves to go. They didn't want to kill Magnus because they knew Magnus would be able to get the sword. So they did want to kill his mom.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So
sent to kill his mom.
Feels like bad plan, but okay.
Yeah. Is tied up with a string of paradoxes that were paradoxes at the time. Mm-hmm. No longer paradoxes because we have a better understanding of this world.
Mm-hmm.
Tried to convince Jack to cut him loose through the hands of Surt specifically. Failed.
Mm-hmm.
Is on an island that only shows up on the summer solstice?
Yes, and I think...
Or is it like...
That seems to be a Riordan invention.
Yeah.
It's a special island that they can't find.
Yeah, it shows up, like, the entrance to the island shows up one day a year. I can't remember. I think summer solstice was specifically for the ship of nails.
Mm-hmm.
Because the ice is weakest at that time.
Yeah, that's... Okay, that's right.
Because it's not... I don't think it's the winter solstice either, though. It might be, because it is winter time during this adventure.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, that's basically... He's a wolf. Do you remember what he looks like?
Big-ass fucking wolf.
Actually, no.
Oh.
The chapter is literally called The Small Bad Wolf. Magnus
Normal
notes that he just
wolf.
looks like a regular wolf.
Normal-sized wolf.
Normal wolf.
Wolves are big as fuck,
Wolves are big
though.
as fuck, though. Like, I'm going to be super honest.
They're like 3 times the size of a husky.
Yeah, no, wolves
These are big fucking
And
dogs.
I think we forget that because when we see wolves in movies, those are dogs.
Yeah, they're just like superimposing dogs. Or
or they use dogs because you're not going to use wolf on your set.
Yeah, but then you could also get like a Malamute, you know? Those are big fucking dogs.
They don't look like wolves, though. They look like Malamutes.
No, but you CG impose them.
Okay.
That's what we do with wolves in movies. We just CG impose
You're talking about
over them.
movies now. I'm talking about
movies,
when we would use like dogs.
Movies then.
Movies
now, we'd probably still use dogs and superimpose like wolf designs on them.
We just watched, my friends just watched The Hogfather, and the movie ends with, in the book, there are wolves. And in the movie, they say they are dogs because they are dogs. Mm-hmm. They're also barking, but they're all wagging their tails
because they're
they know they're doing so good. These little actor dogs, they know they're doing such a good job. But wolves. Even this, like, oh, it's just a wolf-sized wolf. I'm like, that's still
those are big.
That's still big and terrifying.
Yeah.
But we get the thing with Fenrir is that he is very persuasive with them. Which I tried to avoid, but at one point in time, they were literally drawn.
He's the son of Loki.
He is the son of Loki, exactly. And they were actually like drawing him closer and closer because he's in this meadow of flowers.
Yeah.
And it acts as like a barrier. If he can't get out, especially because he's bound, he can't move, but he can't get at them as long as they are outside of the barrier of flowers, which might just be the length of which he can go.
Yeah.
But he starts to like fill them with rage is what it's described as. How, because he says like, oh yeah, he killed Magnus's mom, and he's thinking about that. He killed her to affect me.
Father, Blitzen.
Yep. He killed Blitz's dad. He is harassing, like hounding Sam and just drawing them closer.
And Hearth is just
not impacted
Because
because
he doesn't hear it at all.
he can't hear it. Because he can't. Wolf is talking.
He's just
but
like snapping it. He's like, snap out of it. We're not doing this
they're
shit.
getting
Stop.
close. And at one point in time, Blitz literally is able to stop them from getting closer. And I talked about that. I think we talked about that when we talked about the book forever ago. I loved that sequence.
Really good.
But during the fight, he is able to get Blitz or Jack to cut a couple of the bonds, but then they are able to come out on top and use the new rope that Blitz created to bind him. And that's curtains on Fenris.
Yeah, that's all we get from Fenris,
Yeah.
like, at all. He doesn't do anything else the rest of the series.
Yeah. Well, he will get out at Ragnarok, but Ragnarok never actually happened, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
DJ, what do you know about Fenris in Norse mythology?
He was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
He allowed the gods to try 3 different things to bind him. The first 2 straight up just didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one was the magically enchanted string of paradoxes. And in order to get him to stay still, Tyr put his hand in Fenrir's mouth. And when it trapped him, he took it.
Yep.
Like, his hand is mine now.
His pen is mine now, like he's keeping it.
Yeah. I mean, I know he was just like a bigger problem, causing a bunch of issues. He is specifically destined to kill Odin.
Yes.
Yeah. There's probably more, but...
DJ, what if I told you that the only issue Fenris ever called was being prophesized to kill Odin?
Sounds right.
So this statement kind of weird to make right after our Norns episode where we talked about the Norse being not like a fatalistic and the interpretations being really more of what you ought to do.
Yeah.
Mayhaps
Fenrir's ought to kill Odin, okay?
So we've already talked about Fenrir quite a bit, specifically in our Ragnarok episode, because that's like his big showcase, right?
Yeah.
It is in the Volspa where we get the passage of ships are sailing from Muspel and Loki is steering and Surt has come across and the Bifrost is broken. Then Frigg's second sorrow comes about when Odin advances to fight against the wolf and Beli's bright slayer against Surt. Then Frigg's dear beloved must fall. And so that is what the big thing about Fenrir is that he's been prophesied by the Volspa. This is where we get all of that prophecy. It's what she is seeing to kill Odin. And so, and we also in the same one we get, Jormungandr is the world serpent and will drown the world and thrashing and kill Thor in that fight. Snorri tells us a little bit more about Fenrir. And we talked about him in actually the Hell episode as well, because he's Fenrir's, or he's Hell's Hell is his sister.
Yep.
That's the way to say that. Talking about the children that Loki had with Angerboda, Sorrowbringer, an ogress who lived in Giantland. Loki had 3 children. One was Fenris Wolf, the second was the Midgard Serpent, and the third was Hel. Oh, now I'm quoting the Gylfaginning.
Yep.
It occurred to me that I just took a book and DJ could see that, but dear listener, you couldn't. When the gods discovered that these siblings were being brought up in Giantland, they learned through prophecies that misfortune and evil were expected from these children. All the gods became aware that harm was on its way, first because of the mother's nature, but even more so because of the father's. And so the All-Father sent the gods to seize the children and bring them to him. When they appeared before him, he threw the serpent into the deep sea that surrounds all the lands. And then he threw Hel down into Niflheim and made her ruler of the 9 worlds. We've talked all about that. And for Fenrir, they tie him up, but not right away. Because here's what Snorri says. The Aesir raised the wolf at home, but only Tyr had the courage to approach and feed it. But the gods saw how the wolf grow every day and knew that all the prophecies foretold that it was destined to harm them.
Hate to see it.
So here's...
Do you remember that show Sons of Tucson? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sons of... Yeah.
When they brought a coyote.
I don't remember that, but I do know...
You don't remember the episode?
No. I remember the show, but
There was an episode
where they brought a
they
coyote.
found like a coyote and they thought it was a stray dog, so they brought it in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was like a wolf, but it was like one of those wild dogs.
It was their Arizona. It's probably coyote.
Yeah. And so they brought it in,
Can't have
and
a
one
coyote
guy,
in the house.
it made me laugh because it's like when the nanny was talking to some other dude about it. He's like, the dude that he was talking to was like, coyotes are great pets until they turn. And then the guy's like, what? He's like, yeah, sometimes they do turn on like their owners and get a little,
because they're wild animals.
they're wild
they aren't
animals.
domesticated. It's not in their genetics.
And the episode they end up giving this coyote to like the bully family.
Oh God. Okay, I do remember that. That I remember.
But
oh my gosh.
it's just like Fenrir was a great dog until he turned. He was a wonderful pet, just a good boy until he turned. That's just what made me laugh.
And that is the title of the episode, probably. Or at the very least, the quote I'm going to post about it. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of fucked up. They show up, and also they are the children, is the other thing. The children are being brought up. And so they show up, and immediately Odin throws Jormungandr, God, thank you, into the ocean of Midgard and sends Hel to go run Niflheim. But they decide they're going to keep Fenrir around.
We might be able to raise
him. And specifically, Tyr is the primary caretaker of Fenrir because he's the only one brave enough to go and like actually directly interact with him. And he's growing really fast is the other thing.
Yeah, he's a wolf.
So, but that's the thing. They haven't actually done anything yet.
Yeah.
Like, none of them have caused harm or caused destruction.
Has that stopped gods from fucking with fate before?
No, but you could...
Trying to.
No, of course not. That's the point. Maybe we'll argue at the end of this that that's actually what leads to all of this because, I don't know, man. I think I'd also want to eat Odin after what happened here today. So what they decide is they're, like you said, they try 3 different tethers. So the first one they try is called lading. They bring it to the wolf and invite him to test his strength on it. So they frame it as a game. They're like, hey, see how strong you are.
Yeah.
And the first one, he has like no problems. He just like stretches the muscles in his legs and it pops. And so they make a second one. It's twice as strong. And this one's called Dromi. They ask the wolf to test the fetter, telling him that he would become renowned for his strength if such magnificent forging was unable to hold him. And he's like, well, even though the fetter is strong, I'm even stronger since when I broke the last one. And he recognized that to become renowned, he would have to place himself in danger, so he let the fetter be put on him. Again, it is like, this is really sad.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think I didn't realize this is super sad. Because Fenrir doesn't know what's actually happening.
Yeah.
He genuinely is like, well, if I want to be a hero, I have to do something dangerous and prove myself.
These guys have fed me, kept me warm. This is awesome, dude. Like, and they want me to become renowned. That's great. Yeah. Awesome. Let's run it.
Yeah. And so when, he breaks himself from Dromi. And so then the Allfather sent Skirnir, Bright One, Frey's messenger to Svartalfheim. And there he had some dwarves make the fetter called Gleipnir. DJ, you said it was made of some paradoxes. Do you remember what any of them are?
Hair from a woman's beard. That's kind of the only one I remember.
Noise of cat's footsteps, the beard of a woman, roots of a mountain, sinews of a bear, the breath of a fish, and the spittle of a bird. Though previously you had no knowledge of these matters, you now quickly...
This is Snorri being like, I've seen a bearded woman down the street from me, actually.
You now can quickly see the proof that you were not deluded. You must have noticed that a woman has no beard, a cat's movement makes no sound, and the mountains have no roots. Truly, I say, all you've been told is equally reliable, even though you have no way to test some things.
Actually, we do now. I've seen a bearded woman.
Yes,
I hear the cats make steps. Mountains do have roots. They're called continental shelves. What was the other ones?
Breath of a fish.
They breathe water.
Sinews of a bear. And spittle of a bird.
I don't think birds have spit.
Go on. I have no idea.
And I don't know what a sinew is specifically.
Yeah, I thought sinew was.
Oh, they don't. Maybe like Vikings didn't know how to properly like carve up a bear.
That seems wild.
Because it's like strong fibrous tissue that connects muscles to bone.
Yeah, I don't.
Hold on. Do bears have sinew? Bears have sinews.
Yeah, so really what it is, and also like, yeah, cats have footsteps. I can hear our cats coming down the stairs.
It looks like they're really short. So
they
they're
just
either
maybe
easily missed.
So, yeah, and on cat footsteps. Not only do you hear the sound of cat's foot, I can also tell which cat is coming down the stairs.
Yeah, cats, dude. Vivi had heavy footsteps.
That was a
heavy
big
fucking
cat. He's a big old boy, Vivi cat. Yeah, you'd be like, is that Vivi or a human man coming down the stairs? So the idea is that these are all impossible elements, right? And that is what makes this bond so strong. It's made up of impossible things.
Yeah.
And we just move on. But the feather was smooth and soft as silk ribbon. It was reliable and strong, as you will now hear. And so they bring the dwarfs, give it to the Aesir, who then travel out to a lake called Amsvarsnir and sent for the wolf to accompany them. And then went to an island called Langvi, and they showed the wolf the silky band, offering to let him try to break it. They told him that despite its slimness, it was somewhat stronger than it appeared. Passing it among themselves, each tested the band's strength in his hands. No one can pull it apart. Nevertheless, they said that the wolf would be able to break it. Then the wolf said, "It seems to me that the ribbon like this one, which is so narrow a band, offers no renown even if I break it apart. But if it is made with cunning and treachery, even though it looks unimpressive, I will not permit this band to be put on my legs."
Makes sense.
And basically like, oh, no, you'll be able to break it. You already broke the other ones that were visibly more strong. So, like, this is fine.
They should have. Why didn't they just enchant a chain? Another chain?
Well, because, I don't know. But the gods then say, but if you are unable to break free from this band, the gods will have no reason to fear you, and then we will free you.
Fuck you.
Yeah. And once again, Fenrir is like, I don't know about that. Like, if you were to bind me and I can't get free, like, it would be a long time before any of you would actually help me. Yeah. I'm unwilling to allow that band to be put on me. Rather than questioning my courage, why not let one of you place his hand in my mouth as a pledge that there is no treachery in this offer? And the gods looked at each other, realizing the seriousness of the problem they now faced.
It's like,
No one was willing to hold out his hand until Tyr raised his right hand and laid it in the wolf's mouth. And again, Tyr, the one who has been personally taking care of Fenrir since the time he was brought here as a child. And I just think...
Shout out to Tyr. He's a homie.
I mean, I was going to say, I feel like the deep tragedy of this narrative is vastly overlooked. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, like, this 100%. Is so sad.
Like, this is Tyr being like, we are tricking you and I'm giving you my hand.
You are the one, you trust me the most, so you will believe me
Well, it's like...
Also, he's the only one brave enough to do it.
I imagine Tyr probably did put his hand in there and didn't take it out when it was tied. Solely for Fenrir to take his hand because there is treachery.
Oh. I never thought about that, but the idea that it doesn't even try to get away and is like, I'm giving this up because we are lying to you.
There's a moment between it's tied but when he tries to break it, that Tyr definitely could have taken his hand out.
Yep.
But he doesn't.
Yep. But then the wolf strained against the fetter. The bands only hardened. The more he struggled, the stronger the band became. They all laughed except Tyr. He lost his hand.
Yeah.
That's the line. He lost his hand. When the Aesir saw the wolf was truly bound, they took that part that hung loose from the fetter, and then so they tie him to stones and stuff. And then they're not done. So not only have they tied him, and then fastened the fetter around so it can't, he can't hobble anywhere. As the wolf struggled, he opened his mouth. He gaped horribly, trying to bite them, but they slipped a sword into his mouth. The hilt stuck in his lower gums, and the blade in the upper gums, wedging his jaw open. He growled menacingly, saliva drooled from his mouth, forming the river called Van, Hope. There he remains until Ragnarok.
Yep. It's rough.
That's rough.
Hate to see it. Kind of mean, honestly.
Yeah.
Why'd you guys gotta do that? You raised this dog. He's your pup.
I know.
He's your boy.
I know. That's what makes it like they didn't just immediately be be like, hey, we challenge you to this contest and just tie him up. It's they raised him first. And then in the other ones of trying to tie him up, we're like, it'll prove you're super strong.
Yeah.
And if you can't break it, then we'll just know we can trust you.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's so
ridiculous.
Cruel. And the question is just like, well, because he's going to kill Odin at Ragnarok. And I'm like, now he most certainly is.
Yeah, right.
Which definitely does
Odin
different.
wronged him.
Yeah. Now we have the fate thing of like, well, yeah, Fenrir ought to eat you at Ragnarok after what you did to him. So that is when I talked in the last episode, like, I don't really have any examples of the gods doing
It was like, Fenrir might eat you. Oh, well, I got to tie him up.
Yeah.
Well, now Fenrir ought to eat you.
Yeah, but it's different because they then actually right after that, it's in the Gylfaginning and Gangleri asks, like, why didn't they just kill the wolf? And I think we talked about in the Ragnarok episode, and the reason is like, oh, because this is such a sacred place, they're not going to defile it. But that's not a good reason.
Yeah.
Like, that's really not.
Goofy.
So yeah, and then the next time we see Fenrir again is at Ragnarok. When he goes out, he kills Odin, and then right after that happens, back in the Volspa, then comes Victory Father's strong son, Vidar, to battle the beast of slaughter. With his hand, he sends to Loki's son's heart his sword to stab, then his father is avenged. So Odin's son Vidar is the one who kills Fenrir. DJ, do you know? So that mentioned it was stabbed with a sword, but Snorri presents us with a little extra like mythic flavor that Riordan does mention in the Magnus books. Do you remember what this dude's deal is?
Vidar?
Yeah.
Is he the foot guy?
He's the foot guy. What an upsetting way to say that, but he is in fact the foot guy.
He's the guy with his shoes made out of a bunch of shoes.
So going back to the Gylfaginning, we're just really bouncing back and forth.
Yeah.
Going back to the Gylfaginning, the wolf will swallow Odin, and that will be his death. But immediately afterwards, Vidar will stride forward and thrust one of his feet into the lower jaw of the wolf. He wears on that foot the shoe that has been symboled through the ages by collecting extra pieces that people cut away from toes and heels when fashioning their shoes. Thus, those who want to help the Aesir should throw these extra pieces away. With one hand, he takes hold of the wolf's upper jaw and rips apart its mouth, and this will be the wolf's death.
I don't think you should be throwing your toes and heels away from your shoes. Snow doesn't treat those appendages nicely.
Well, I think it's not, you don't cut them away. It's the extra of when you were repairing them. But yeah, that's a... You remember that scene from one of the King Kong movies where Kong just absolutely rips that T-Rex's jaw?
Yeah, the Peter Jackson one.
Yeah, the Peter Jackson one.
The one that had a shockingly outstanding video game.
So that's what Vidar does to... In the Volspa, he just stabs him with a sword.
This one, he kicks him in the jaw and then fucking...
rips it in half. Which, considering the fact that apparently this wolf's jaw has been, like, forced open for ages by a sword, yeah, probably wasn't that hard to do.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. That's what Fenrir does.
Nice. Hate to see it.
Do you want to hear about his kids?
Sure.
So Fenrir has a couple of sons.
Before or after he was tied up?
You know, that's a great question. Maybe probably before.
Maybe, but we don't know.
The timeline feels like probably. Snorri gives us a good description of these boys. It's chapter 12 of the Gylfaginning is called The Wolves. And Gangleri says, the sun moves quickly. It's almost as if she fears something. She cannot go faster on her journey, even if she were afraid of her own death. Then Hai answered, it is not surprising that she moves with such speed. The one chasing her comes close, and there is no escape for her except to run. Who is chasing her? Asked Gangleri. Hai said, there are two wolves. The one who is chasing her is called Skull. He frightens her, and he will eventually catch her. The other is called Hati Horvendensen son.
Hati Horvendensen son.
Probably. He runs in front of her to try to catch the moon, and this will happen. And you're like, that's odd. What's up with that? Well, then we're going to jump back over to the Volspa, who's going to give us a little passage earlier before she gets to Ragnarok. In the east, there sat an old woman in Ironwood and gave birth there to Fenrir's offspring. One of them is in trollish shape, shall be the Snatcher of the Moon.
Okay.
That is reiterated in another poem on Grimmir's sayings. It comes up. Skull, a wolf is called, who pursues the shining goddess to the protecting woods. The other is Hati. He is Harventir's son, who must run before heaven's bright bride. And so that crazy word that I was trying to say and just stumbling through, that is a reference to Fenrir.
Neat.
The Harventir roughly probably means great wolf and is believed to be another name for Fenrir. So that's how we have the comment of there's like the giant woman who gives birth to Fenrir's sons, and then this reference of this other wolf being literally the great wolf's son. That's how we get the connection of them being Fenrir's sons who chase the sun and the moon. And we've talked about at Ragnarok, they swallow the sun and the moon and it plunges everything into chaos. I learned something interesting today.
What'd you learn?
Do you know what a sun moon or a wolf moon is?
No.
I'm going to show you a picture of it. Our sundog or moondogs actually is what.
This happens up north, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it is when there seems to be two bright, almost new suns on either side of the sun. And it happens also with the moon.
Nice. That's awesome.
So you can look that up. It's pretty cool. It's also called a parhelion.
Makes sense.
Which is literally, it's like a halo caused by the sunlight reflecting on ice crystals in the atmosphere.
Hell
So
yeah.
it usually happens around 22 degrees.
So it's a frozen rainbow.
Yeah, DJ, it's basically a frozen rainbow. The same thing happens with the moon. And so some scholars, well, specifically the scholar I'm referencing is Rudolf Semek, who believed it was a nature mythological interpretation in the case of Skull and Hati, who pursues the moon. Such an interpretation suggests the wolves may be intended to describe the phenomenon of palehelia and paraselenia, or sundogs and moondogs, as these are called sun wolf in Scandinavian languages.
Nice.
So, you see things in nature. What is that? That's the wolf chasing the sun.
Hell yeah, that's sick.
And I thought that was pretty cool. Now...
Yeah, I wonder if a lot of rainbows happen up north.
Maybe, and that's why the Bifrost is such a rainbow bridge. It's just more frequent and common.
Maybe
if light's already doing that.
True.
So, Simic doesn't...
I figured the rainbow bridge would be Aurora Borealis.
Can you see Aurora Borealis in Scandinavia?
Yes. In some parts, sometimes you can see it in like Michigan.
Aurora Borealis hadn't come up yet when we did the Bifrost episode, because that actually sounds...
Just kind of forgot.
Really cool.
Aurora Borealis is it's so cool, but we forget about it because we never experience it.
It doesn't sound real to me.
Yeah, right. I'm like, I want to see it. So we're too far south.
Too far south. You go up there, but it's like really cold. Like, goddamn. So an explanation for a cool natural phenomenon isn't the only thing Simic is bringing to the table in regards to Fenrir and these two other wolves.
Okay.
He also theorizes that they were probably, at one point in time, all the same figure.
All a real wolf?
No, not a real wolf.
Why not?
No, because
wolves were a problem in Europe, Darren. I don't know if you know about this. But
I've heard it.
That Paris was
We're not
raided
there yet. Put the pin back, DJ. Put the pin back. Put it back.
Fine.
Okay. No. Do you recall, speaking of our Hell episode, do you recall Garm?
Vaguely?
The
big wolf. The big wolf. Yeah.
Beast of Hell who will devour Tyr at Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned in that episode that scholars believe that that figure and Fenrir, probably once upon a time, the same wolf, which kind of tracks thematically. Because obviously, Fenrir is going to want to kill Odin for what he did, but maybe he's also going to have a grudge against Tyr specifically. So why wouldn't he go after him? Simic is also proposing that Skull and Hati were probably also a story of Fenrir, wherein he would be the one to devour the sun. And that doesn't come from just like, oh, mythology and stories change over time. There is a passage from one of the sagas, and we have the mention of the two wolves and two other poetic Edda. So in the earlier ones I cited from the poetic Eddas. So it obviously wasn't a thing that Snorri invents whole cloth. But in the poem Vafthrungnir sayings. Odin says, much have I traveled, much have I tried out, much have I tested the powers. From where will a sun come into the smooth heaven when Fenrir has destroyed this one? And we've talked about that in the Ragnarok episode. Elf Radiance will bear a daughter before Fenrir destroys her. She will ride when the powers die, a girl on her mother's paths. So, because we know that there will be another world after Ragnarok. That's where the sun comes from. But in this particular instance, Odin is asking, or Odin is saying, it is going to be Fenrir who will devour the sun, not Skull. So that's where the idea comes from, that there was probably a time where there was just one big-ass problem wolf in Norse mythology, and it was Fenrir, and then it got broken up into other wolves, but still, mostly Fenrir is the problem we need to worry about.
Nice.
And you know what, DJ? Believe it or not, that's all I've got for Fenrir.
I do believe it. That was a lot.
It was
a good amount.
That's all about. Yeah, it's Fenrir.
It's Fenrir.
Mostly, I was like, it's all things that we have loosely covered. The one piece that really struck me that I hadn't clocked before, the fact that the Aesir raised him at their house.
Raised him
for an X amount of time before they decide, he's just going to end up being a problem, so let's tie him up and leave him, and stick a sword in his mouth and leave him on an island.
Hate to see it.
Hate to see it.
So mean, so rude.
All right, DJ. Now, what were you saying about wolves being a problem?
So, I mean, yeah, wolves were just largely a problem in all of Europe.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you see the big red wolf in so many European tales and a lot of Germanic tales. England, one of the kings of England, I can't remember which one, quite literally put a bounty out on just wolves. And England, for the longest time, for like 400 years, has just been wolf free.
Yeah.
They've recently introduced them, like this decade, I think in 2021, maybe 2017, 2014, somewhere around there. Right?
Yeah.
They just started to reintroduce wolves to the environment. And I'm like, why would you do that?
Because
is it really
ecology?
Is it for 400 years you haven't had wolves and suddenly you're saying it's affecting it now?
I mean, it probably has been a problem for a while, and they just didn't realize it because there wasn't.
I think they're actually
why these problems were happening.
I think maybe it was like there's like a deer overpopulation or something like that, and wolves did need to be introduced, and they're not nearly as much of a problem as they are now. And I understand that, but wolves did in fact siege Paris.
They did siege Paris.
That is
I've heard
such
this
a fucking crazy
from
story. You say from me, but the fact that you said you Googled it and couldn't find anything on it means that you didn't Google hard enough. I literally just searched wolf fights Paris and I found what I read.
Oh yeah, no, this time I found it.
Yeah.
DJ. I can assure, and I can also this time we'll let you know the sources of how we know
good.
this thing really happened.
That it really did happen?
It really did happen. That was the thing I wanted to find.
It's like these wolves, this pack of wolves, and this specific pack of wolves just was attacking Paris for multiple days. And a lot of people were, dying, and the guards were on the wolves were finding out guard times and when guards were on shift changes, and when that's a good time to strike. They would specifically avoid areas with crossbows. These wolves were nuts.
What year? Do you know?
The 1400s.
Yes. Okay. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same situation.
Yeah. It's like they straight up avoided specific areas in order to maximize getting these people. And then the wolf pack fought against the guard captain, and the guard captain killed the wolf but died to his wounds later.
So, there have been a bunch of times when wolves have been a problem in Paris.
Wolves are just, in general, a problem in Europe again. I do believe a bunch of times in Paris.
So there are, I think that dear listeners, if anyone knows the original episode where DJ first decided he was going to tell me the story about the time the wolves sieged Paris, let me know, because that's an important piece of this podcast. I
can't remember which episode it was.
But that
it might have been a bonus episode. I can't tell you.
That original narrative that DJ presents, I have found in my research for this episode, is an amalgamation of multiple wolf incidents.
It's way better than probably whatever happened. But
well, whatever happened is also the craziness, but the elements of the wolf attacks happening a lot, the getting around the guard, the fighting one of the specific guards, those all
happened at different times.
And I couldn't find one of the guard, but I did find in the
Isn't it
1600s
like Courtard?
a retired militiaman
Yeah,
went
maybe.
after, and this was just one beast who was the problem. Cornered the beast, got him down with a pitchfork, and had him pinned for 15 minutes until another dude showed up when it was able to. But this
So
was
good.
a problem wolf.
Yeah. Dude, wolves were a
But
problem.
The big one that we would call the Siege of Paris happened in the 1400s. And it was during the 100-Year War. And during the 100-Year War, there happened to be a number of brutal winters in Europe.
Sounds about right.
So bad were these winters that the River Seine around Paris froze solid that you could walk across it. And stories say that it was so cold, bottles of wine were freezing in people's cellars. So when you
Yeah,
have
that's cold. When you have alcohol freezing, that's fucking cold.
when you have bad winters, you tend to have not a lot of food,
Yeah.
not just for people, but for other creatures in the area. So it is believed what initially brought the wolves to Paris, because wolves don't fuck around with people. They aren't interested in it. They'll usually leave those spaces alone unless they're really hungry. And like I said, it's during the 1400s. Lifespans are not long.
Lifespans are at most.
Mhm.
I mean, if you are lucky,
It's an
you can,
average.
if you're lucky, you can definitely get up to like standard human lifespans.
Yeah. Humans
But
didn't magically
average-
be able to live longer. The
Average, like
was
late
just a
40s.
bummer. Yeah. So
Probably lower than that because of infant deaths.
that's where the average comes.
Yeah, but
Kids died a lot.
kids died an awful
And that's
lot.
what
But
makes
if we
that
remove,
number so much lower.
I think if you
That is
remove
the outlier. You take that out.
like 12 and under,
Mm-hmm.
it jumps up drastically.
Because so that's where that is. But still, people died.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of fresh graves. And so initially, the wolves were rolling up and digging up graves to find the still kind of fresh meat that was there.
Nice.
But in time, it did escalate to the wolves just straight up attacking people. And this went on for a long time.
Oh, yeah, I
It
believe
wasn't just like a little bit. It was a
Yeah,
while.
there were attacks
Mhm.
even in like the 1700s.
Yeah. And this went on for years and years, but this specific situation that happened in the 1400s lasted from 1421 to 1439.
Mhm.
Was where wolf attack was just a regular problem in the city of Paris. And the documentation we have of this comes from a diary of the time. It is called the Journal of a Bourgeoisie of Paris.
Mhm.
And the author of this document is unknown. They don't actually know who this person is, but it is this incredible document we have that was an account of like the politics, war, and everyday life of Paris between 1405 and 1449.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
That's
it was just
wow.
this diary.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is diligence. But I guess if you have fuck all to do.
Yeah. What
Writing
else
in
do you
writing
have
in
to
a
do?
diary? Yeah,
Yeah.
I probably would have written in a diary back in the
That's
day.
all you have to do. And so the title of it being one of the bourgeoisie actually came from a 1659 edition of the publication of this journal. But scholars today now believe this person was just probably a member of the clergy.
Yeah.
But they did note multiple instances of the wolves. So the first time it's noted in the diary is July 1421. At that time, shortly after the summer of St. Martin, July 4th, wolves were so hungry that they dug with their paws the body of people who were buried in villages and the fields. Everywhere they went, one found dead in the fields, and the cities from great poverty had suffered from the war, which had always grown from bad to worse. And this continued in the... Later on that same month, you have another instances of the wolves were so hungry they entered the good cities at night and caused much damage, often crushed the river Seine and several others naked, and to the cemeteries in the fields. As soon as the bodies had been buried, they came at night and devoured and ate them. We have one in August of 1423 where it notes that some wolves were caught and hung up by their hind legs, like after they were slain. As a warning to other wolves, I guess?
Maybe.
But then
You don't know.
1438, at that time, the wolves came into Paris by the river and took the dogs and ate a child in the night at the Palace of Chat. Pallas Akats, behind the innocents. September the following year, at that time, especially as the king was in Paris, the wolves were so rabid to eat the flesh of men and women or children in the last week of September that they strangled and ate 14 people.
Yeah.
It was a problem. But then, if you look this up, you will get like the wolf who led them was Koratz, is what they called him. It was a bobtail because he had a bobtail. And here's where we get that from a journal entry, November 14th, 1439. On the Virgil of St. Martin, a terrible and horrible wolf was so hunted that it was said he alone had caused more of the pain mentioned above than the others. That wolf was caught and had no tail, and for that reason it was named Korant, and he was spoken as much as a thief or a cruel captain.
Let's go, dude. Fuck it up.
The last entry we have from this journal regarding the wolves is from December 1439. On the 16th of December, the wolves came suddenly and strangled 4 housewives, and the following day they panicked 17 around Paris, of whom 11 died from their bites.
Yeah, shit, wolves were a problem.
Wolves
in Europe.
were
like, just
a
outright.
problem.
Like there's. I've said it quite a few times this episode, but there is a reason Big Bad Wolf was a thing, right?
We've got. Yeah, the ton of folklore appearances: the Boy Who Cried Wolf, Little Red Riding Hood, The Wolf and the 7 Young Goats, 3 Little Pigs, Peter and the Wolf. Like, the idea of... I was wanting to know if this concept of the Big Bad Wolf stemmed from Fenrir?
I don't think it stems from Fenrir. I just think it stems from that wolves were so fierce in Europe that they just spawned all of this. And even Fenrir might come from this specific feeling towards wolves.
Yep. And that's what I found. Like the note of like folklorists tend to talk about, nah, man, this is just like wolves were a problem. And these stories were to tell children, don't go into the woods. There are wolves in there.
Yeah.
Now, a 19th century folklorist and cultural anthropologist, P. St. Vies, and then another one, Edward Burnett Tyler, did equate the Little Red Riding Hood story kind of to the connection of Skull or Fenrir in Norse mythology swallowing the sun. The wolf swallows Red Riding Hood, and then she emerges again whole. I don't know if anybody puts any credence into that.
I think that's just to be a happy ending.
I just am mentioning it because the episode, but they were looking at it in terms of solar myths and other naturally occurring cycles.
Yeah.
And I do think that was probably more just like, hey kid, there's wolves in the woods, watch out.
Yeah.
I don't know if that idea of connecting it to the wolf devouring the sun motif is necessarily where we're getting the folklore. But yeah, considering how DJ likes to tell us about the times that wolves sieged Paris, this episode felt really appropriate for me to spend a bunch of time
researching
really
this kind of thing
into it, because you can find this collective of like, there was one where it talked about how a bunch of men, in order to solve the problem, killed some cows, dragged them through town so there was blood, luring the wolves down into the place in front of Notre Dame, and then stoned the wolves there.
Yeah.
But I could not find any first-person accounts of that. Like the journal where it showed us, like, yeah, wolves were a goddamn problem. Here's that bobtail wolf that they tell you about in the story. So I found a blog where some of that stuff was mentioned, and then that story was there, but there was no citation of like where they are getting that from. Like, news reports, documentations, like legal stuff, or this journal where we get it. And so those were elements I was like, I just want to know. DJ tells us about the story. But like I said, I found the one where in the 1600s, the militia guy was the one who fought this wolf who had a name, who was this beast. And that this is a thing. I think that main story became an amalgamation, which just demonstrates, wolves were a problem.
Honestly, I was just reading it because it was like a post.
Yeah.
I was just reading it. It might have been like, wolves did this, wolves also did this, wolves also did this.
Yeah,
and I read it as one coherent story, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, this one time wolves did all of this. It's like, no, sometimes there was a pack of wolves that figured out guard post. And then another time there was a pack of wolves that did this.
Yeah.
And then another time a militia guard killed a wolf. Shit like that.
But yeah, I that was the thing I really wanted. I was like, show me the first person documentation. And honestly,
I can't believe we have something like that. That's so fucking cool.
That's so right. it's
That's
like,
really dope.
And also
For 40 years, this person documented their life.
Yeah, their whole life. And then throughout, there was about a almost 2 decades where they had to keep noting, so wolves attacked again.
Yeah, the wolves showed up today.
Damn.
18 people died.
Bummer.
I hate to see it.
That's rough. There was one where it was called in the 1652 the Year of Terror, which might also be the thing, where there was one
Is this
wolf
the wolves of Soyson?
that just let me see, the beast of Gatanias, which is like an area around Paris.
Mhm.
Just this one wolf was a problem. And so this definitely felt like, and I even did some research into the big bad wolf motif, hoping I would be able to bring a lot more like folklore, fairy tale scholarship of the ideas of this and the representation. But it sincerely does boil. Most people are pretty sure it's because wolves were a problem. And that's why the big bad wolf is in so many like folk tales, because wolves were a problem.
Shout out to Puss in Boots' Last Wish for having
I've also
a really
wanted us
dope
to talk about
big bad wolf.
As
really
the Grim
cool.
Reaper?
As death, just period.
Just so good.
So good.
Yeah, if y'all
big fan of that.
Y'all haven't on Patreon, we got a remyth episode from a while back talking about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and
it's such a good movie.
So
just outright,
good.
It's such a good movie.
Dissecting
and death. Being like the big bad wolf, not the Shrek big bad wolf.
Yeah, who's fun.
He's funny.
Yeah,
but he's the wolf from Little Red Riding Hood specifically.
Yeah.
This is the big bad wolf.
This is truly the big bad wolf. And so using this fairy tale aesthetic to who's going to be our Grim Reaper for Puss in Boots, a cat, it should be a wolf.
Yeah, and it's like I love normally I just let things take their course, but I wanted your last life personally. Because
he is insulted by the fact that like Puss has wasted all of his others.
It's like, why do cats get 9 lives? It's bullshit.
Yeah, he's been so careless with them.
Yeah.
And the idea of the story in Puss is like, well, I need my lives back because I'm afraid of dying. And the shift in that narrative being he's like, no, I'm going to protect this one I have because it is valuable.
Yeah.
And
super good.
He's like, well, of course I'm the fearless Puss in Boots because if I die, I just get another chance. And what does it mean to be fearless when you don't? Like, were you really brave?
Yeah.
If you were willing to throw him away just because you knew you'd get another shot. It's very good.
Big fan of it.
The shout out
Huge
to
fan.
Terry Pratchett. There's a book called The Amazing Maurice, Amazing Maurice and His Rats. And it's about this talking cat and these hyper intelligent talking rats. And at the end of the book, there's a big accident, the cat dies, and one of the intelligent rats die. And so the Grim Reaper Death shows up to collect one of the cat's lives. But before Death himself shows up, the Grim Squeaker shows up to collect the rat. And when Maurice sees this happening, he bats him aside to try to protect his little rat friend. And Death is like, hey, why are you fucking around with my associate? He's like, so sorry, sir. And he's like, is this the last one? He's like, no, sir, I've been really careful. This was just number 5. This was life number 5. I know it was a close call on that last one, but I'm good. He's like, okay, so you're fine. You've still got like 4 more, but we're going to take your buddy and go. And he's like, no, you should give him another chance. You're here to collect 2 lives, right? So what if you just took one of mine?
That's cute.
And he's like, well, that's above board. That's all the numbers. Yeah. And so they let the other.
That's cute.
That's nothing to do with the wolf, but I wanted to share that because it was really cute.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's Fenrir is, we could call him the OG big bad wolf, but for real, doesn't seem like he deserved what he got.
No.
If anything, Odin deserved what he got.
Bad Guys also had a very fun big bad wolf.
Yeah,
Bad
you said
Guys
doing another
cute.
one?
I'm super excited for it.
I think so too. I really liked the first Bad Guys movie, so I'm into getting more from these characters. I don't know, sequels can really go either way.
Pixar is typically not Pixar. DreamWorks is typically pretty good about sequels.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a DreamWorks sequel that I haven't liked.
Mm-hmm. How to Train Your Dragon
aside.
Megamind aside.
Megamind
is the outlier and will not be included.
But that's solely. I don't even think the main DreamWorks thing. I think somebody bought the license to that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Some side company bought the license to do that shit. Whatever. How to Train Your Dragon 2, stellar.
How to Train Your Dragon
sequel.
is like maybe my favorite trilogy of all time.
It's so fucking good.
So good.
Shrek 2 is a stellar sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Shrek the Third, a little weak. Shrek Forever After is pretty strong.
Pretty
all
strong.
All things considered.
Listen, turning around and giving us an AU in the fourth movie is always good.
Yep.
I'd say
Puss in Boots 1, I never watched it.
Fine.
Puss Last Wish.
So good. So good. Go listen to Rose. But yeah, Big Bad. And the Big Bad Wolf in the Shrek movie is also funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just a comedy beat.
Yeah, it's the Big Bad Wolf just
he has an aesthetic.
From Little Red Riding Hood, and he's just there to take a nap.
He's going to take a nap. He's wearing granny clothes. They're comfortable.
Yeah.
He just wants to rest.
He's wearing a nightgown or a night shirt.
Yeah? Is it a night shirt, not a nightgown?
It's a night shirt.
But it's long. It's all the way down.
Marshall's grandpa Olaf wore a night shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a very wise man. Anyway, I'm going to talk about Fenrir from SMITE now.
Oh, yeah, please do.
Mortals must rely on the wisdom of gods, but never forget they are fallible. They can be petty, churlish, and worst of all, wrong. What are the consequences for their mistakes? They should have slain the wolf beast Fenrir, but they chose instead to bind him. Despite the warnings and prophecies he would tear Odin apart at Ragnarok and devour the earth and sky, they did not end Loki's son. Now terror roams free. It is unknown how, but Fenrir is unbound. Thrice they tried to bind him, each time convincing Fenrir that the chains were nothing more than a challenge for his strength, a test to see if he could shatter them. The first two god-forged fetters were easily broken beneath the beast's terrible power, but the third was a ribbon, dwarf-made, and Fenrir grew suspicious of the god's intentions. As a show of faith, he demanded one of them place his hand in his mouth, and if the ribbon proved magical in nature, he would exact punishment. Brave, if foolish, Tyr put his fist in Fenrir's maw, as the ribbon was secured to the wolf's leg. Fenrir strained and screamed, but could not break free, and in rage he devoured Tyr's hand. For a time Fenrir was forgotten, the dire prophecy just a memory, but they were all warned and the gods did nothing. Fenrir is hungry now, the first hunter, an alpha among sheep. But no flesh will satisfy his need. It is revenge he craves, and now he is unbound.
I can't say I blame him. Did you get Fenrir in SMITE when Persephone rolled up and started Ragnarok?
No. Because she was starting Ragnarok with like Hades as well.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
I mean,
like
maybe
a good time to launch that character.
I don't remember. I didn't read lore. I didn't pay attention to it until like way too late in the game. Okay?
I know. I just wasn't sure if it said anywhere else.
Fenrir is an early god, so
probably not.
No, a lot of the early ones really are just kind of like, oh yeah, he's like this is their rundown of their god. Now they're on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this was.
No, it's great. I liked it.
It's a lot of fun. Fenrir is an assassin, or was an assassin, now just because SMITE 2.
Oh, yeah. Just shrug.
Well, it's SMITE 2 has tried to get away from that class-based system.
Oh, okay.
So it's like while he has like similar abilities, it's just they want to again get away from that class-based system and not have it be like that. He's still like a jungler, but he has a leap. He has like a brutalize where it's like a short jump that he like locks onto somebody and slashes them 4 times with his claws. He has a self buff that increases his power, and his ult is he grows bigger and he can grab somebody in his mouth and run with them.
Nice.
Yeah. And then his passive is he's got runes on his body where every time he does damage to an enemy, he gains a rune, and at 5, the next ability he uses is empowered.
That's really cool.
It's really fun.
I like that. That's super neat.
Fenrir is a really fun god.
Yeah, I like Fenrir. And actually, now I find him to be a very tragic character.
Kinda, yeah.
After
really realizing all this?
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, this is like we have these feelings for what we have. There could be other stories where he was running amok.
That's true. This is what we have. Like, were there other poems or accounts where Fenrir was causing problem before that?
Yeah.
And also maybe there's some sort of like cultural understanding of
he's also a wolf.
He is also a wolf, but he's also the son of Loki.
Yeah.
Like,
Loki was a problem.
Loki is a problem. But apparently not yet. But when does Baldur die? Like, it's so hard to figure this.
Timelines are weird.
Doesn't matter.
Timelines are funky.
It's so weird. It's like, oh, his mother was a giant. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of your wives are also the children of giants too. So like, we really are playing Calvin Ball with who's cool and who's not. Yeah, he's a literal wolf. Yeah, but we kept the horse.
Sleipnir.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's justice. It's also
Norse mythology, everybody.
Norse mythology everywhere. I wonder if there's an element of like the understanding of like, oh, they tried to raise the wolf, but they ultimately had to bind him. If it is the whole, well, were there accounts of, yeah, you tried to have that wolf, didn't you? And that's gonna end poorly. You know, it was a good boy until he turned.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? Like when we talked about Balder. When we talked about Frigg not getting the promise from mistletoe because it is young, and that being understood as the dynamic of a young man not being able to swear oath into like understanding in a contract, but still being able to come up and get revenge later.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is there something of them raising Fenrir and not the other two that would have been understood culturally? I saw something where someone was talking where a scholar was like, oh, it's because wolves will sometimes turn on their own family members. So obviously the Norse knew this. And I'm like, that feels like not, I don't know. That feels like someone just saying something.
Who knows?
I don't
it's
really
weird.
know if that's even true.
Domestication really wasn't much of a thing yet. So yeah.
Wolves are really like family packs. So that probably isn't standard wolf practice.
Yeah.
Like maybe it does happen.
Maybe they just saw wolves attacking other wolves. Like, oh, they're attacking their family. It was like it probably was another pack.
Yeah, I don't know. That was the thing. I was like, yeah. I'm just thinking in my head how if they didn't bind Fenrir, but you need the fate to still pass, how do you do that? And it's like, I don't know. Maybe Odin becomes a dick.
Yeah, right.
And at Ragnarok, Fenrir is the one that takes him down because Odin has become corrupt.
Who knows?
I'm just, if I were going to do a retake twist around, that could be fun. I haven't played that game in a while on the podcast. If you were going to do it, what would you do? But I really liked your take of Tyr giving up his hand to like this, what we are doing. We are lying to you. What we have done to you was wrong, but we are going to do it anyway.
Because he's like the oath keeper.
Yeah.
The Oathkeeper Lawbringer guy.
Yeah, exactly. And so
it's like, yeah, we are tricking you, so I will give up my hand for this.
Yeah, like it is, we are practicing deceit, and I'm going to pay for that to make it like above board again because I paid for that deceit. And now it's okay that we've done this because I did give you my hand. And I like that element you brought to it. So thanks for that, DJ.
Yeah.
Okay, even though you tried to do my episode out of even though you tried to do the episode out of order.
Wolves are a problem. I just got to bring it up.
Out of order.
I just got to bring that up.
Yes, and I feel like this was what it was all building towards, and we just didn't know it. Like Fenrir didn't know what it was all building
Did not know what was going on at all. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
DJ, what should our listeners do, you think?
Go to our Patreon, because Musemas is happening right now. Right now, as this episode is released, you just got another episode of Musemas. What episode is that again? Is that the 6th? Is that the 17th one?
Oh, yeah, so we actually haven't... Oh,
yeah, we have recorded that one.
Yeah.
It is... like, honestly, a really, like, faithful and wonderful retelling, just a standard retelling of...
with a great Ebenezer Scrooge performance in A Christmas
George
Carol.
C. Scott has done a wonderful job with this. He's the guy who performs as Scrooge. In 1984, it is its 40th anniversary today. Mm-hmm. So we've released it special just for you.
Well, just for our patrons.
At our Patreon, just for you, at our Patreon for $5.
Yeah. And then you can listen to all of them.
Yeah,
and
you get all of them. And the back
episodes.
And our backlog. Because guess what? We have just as many bonus episodes as we do real episodes, if not more, because we also have 2 more years of Musemas.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I don't number Musemas episodes the way I number Bunker 9 episodes. So there is...
and we talk about a ton.
Musemas episodes before this year.
Exactly.
Crazy.
Big fan of it. We hope to see you guys there, and I want to see you there because Musemas is really special to us. If you like this content, you'll love Musemas. You've already listened to an episode of Musemas.
But it is one of the most sincere times we ever get is talking about A Christmas Carol.
Christmas Carol is
we'd love
so
to
special
share that
to
with
us.
y'all if you'd like to go check it out.
Yeah.
It's a real fun one. But until then, we will be back in your ears on Tuesday, December 31st for one more episode in 2024. Wow, this season has gone on for a while.
The season has been this whole year.
And until next time, don't be like Zeus.
Don't be like Zeus.
Muses of Mythology is created and hosted by Darien and DJ Smartt. It's edited by Darien Smartt. The show is produced by Darien and DJ Smartt, as well as
Tim O'Connor, The Crystal Con Man, Nicholas Miller. Our music is Athens Festival by Martin Hain. And our cover art is by Audrey Miller. You can find her on Instagram at bombshellnutshellart.
Want more Muses of Mythology? Support the show on Patreon. Just $1 gets you exclusive bonus content. Get more at patreon.com/Muses of Mythology.
You can also support the show by leaving a review at lovethepodcast.com/Muses of Mythology. Or tell a friend why you love the show.
Don't forget to check out all of our episodes and episode transcripts at musesofmythology.com.
Thanks for listening.